Hi, I'm Bonnie Barker with BonnieBayCrochet.com, and today I wanted to show you how to make the honeycomb scarf. As shown, this is approximately 7.5 inches wide by 55 inches long. You can make it longer or shorter depending on your preferences. It's a great gift idea for either men or women. And before I show you how to do this, let me just please ask if you could hit that subscribe button if you're a first-time visitor to my channel. And if you hit that notification bell, you won't miss any of the future notifications that I'll be putting out. And if you could hit that thumbs up if you like it, that would also be great. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. The pattern for this scarf is available in the most recent Crochet World magazine. You can just check below in the video description. It's also available in my Lovecraft store if you're looking for just the pattern by itself. For this project, I'm going to be using Barocco's Ultra Alpaca Light. Here are some stats on this yarn. It is 50% superfine alpaca and 50% Peruvian wool. This is a number 3, which is a DK weight yarn. The number of skeins you will need will be listed right below on your screen there. And I'm also recommending that you have a size H or 8 or 5.00 millimeter crochet hook. And as always, if you can have a pair of sharp scissors and a yarn needle for hiding loose ends, that would be extremely helpful. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we are going to chain 40. For row 1, we are going to work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to work a double crochet in each chain across the row. So go ahead and finish row 1 working the double crochets across, and at the end of this row you should have 37 double crochets, and that's not including the turning chain. At the end of row 1 you should have your 37 double crochets. Now we're going to turn, chain 2, and starting in the 2nd stitch we're going to work post stitches. We're going to work front post double crochets, and the way these are worked, very similar to working a regular double crochet, but instead of working in the top loops, we're actually going to work the hook around the body to give it a belt, and then we just complete the stitch like we normally would. So we're going to do 2 of those, one in the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to do 2 back post double crochets where you come in from the back side, work around the stitch, and then you tie or complete the double crochet on the back side. And it's as simple as that. That is a back post double crochet. If you need more stitch support, please check my home page for the Celtic Aran stitches, and I'll try to put a link in the video description below if you need more stitch support on these particular stitches. So go ahead and repeat that all the way across the row. 2 front post double crochets followed by 2 back post double crochets. Let me also take a minute to explain one other thing. Should I ever go too fast for you and you want to slow things down, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, there's a gear shaped icon. It'll be over here for the left hand version, and all you have to do is click on that, and that brings up a menu for the playback speed, and you can select a slower speed. If you're on your cell phone, right up here there should be 3 vertical dots. For left hand version, it's going to be over here. You click on that once the video is stopped, and you can change the playback speed in the same way. So I hope that serves you well. Well, go ahead and finish row 2, and I will show you how to end row 2. At the end of the row, just work a half double crochet into that chain space. Go ahead and turn, and I'm going to start you on row number 3, but row 3 through 8 are going to be done the same way. We chain 2, and again, front post double crochet in those first 2 stitches, and then back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So go ahead and work the next several rows until you complete row 8. This is what you should have after finishing the first 8 rows. Okay, now we're ready to begin our pattern stitch, and this is beginning row 9, and this is where we will repeat for the length of our scarf. We're going to chain 2, and the first 6 rows and the last 6 rows will be working basket weave stitch. So what you're going to do with the front side facing, whenever you're working the ends, you're going to start opposite what you see of the stitch. Okay, so we saw front post here, we're going to work back post over both of those 2 stitches. We see 2 back post, we're going to work 2 front post stitches. 1, 2. Now we have 2 more front posts, and we're going to work back post over those stitches. We're reversing the direction of the ribbing. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with the front side facing. Now we're going to begin the bases for our honeycomb stitch, and the way we do this, we're going to work these in double crochet honeycomb. Some of my patterns work this with treble crochet, but I'm going to work these with double crochet for this pattern. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and then we work front post double crochet over the next 2 stitches, working behind these 2 stitches. We're going to work front post double crochet over the 2 stitches that we skipped. And the best way we can do this, if you use your thumb and put it up into that hole there, it's easy to find the stitch. It does take a little bit of practice. Go ahead. Using those fingers, you can feel where the stitch is. This is probably the most challenging part of this particular design. After we do that, we're going to skip these 2 stitches, and then front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of these last 2 stitches, we front post double crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, let's pause a second. And so what you have formed here is a V. Okay, goes down and then up. And so we're going to do 3 of these. That was 1. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches. I'm going to do this whole row with you, so there's no question as to what's going on. Front post double crochet, working behind these 2 stitches. We're going to find the 2 stitches. We're going to start with this one and wrap our hook around it for that front post double crochet, and the next one is right beside it. This is very awkward at first, but I promise you it does get better once you do a few of these. Okay, skip the next 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of these 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, now we have 2 V's. 1, 2. We have 1 more to go. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. Front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working behind these 2 stitches. We will front post double crochet. Get my thumb there. It helps a lot to feel where the stitch really is. Skip the next 2 stitches. Let's wrap the hook first. Front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and working in front of these last 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the 2 stitches that were skipped. So that completes our 3rd V, going down and then up. Now we're going to work the last 6 stitches, worked the same as the first 6. We work the opposite of this. We see back post So we work front post double crochets in those two, and we go opposite these for that basket weave. So we do 2 back post double crochets and then 2 front post double crochets, and just like the other rows, half double crochet in that turning space. And so that ends row number 9. Let's go ahead and turn, chain 2, and row number 10. Now we're going to stay with what we see here. So we see 2 back posts. We're going to do back post double crochet. 1, 2, and then if we see a front post, we do a front post. This is with the back side facing. We only change the direction of these basket weave stitches when we have the front row facing, which is going to be every other row. And then 2 more back posts. 1 and 2. Okay, now the part where we're working with the back side to the foundation for those honeycombs, we simply work back post double crochet. Let me try that again. Back post double crochet in each stitch across. Might be a little tricky. Make sure that you don't forget these 2 stitches here. You should have 4 back post double crochets for each of those honeycomb foundations that were started, or you can count 24 back post double crochets as you crochet this section that's in between the basket weave. Hopefully that's not too confusing. So I'm going to go ahead and crochet these 24 stitches, and then I will show you the basket weave section when I get to that side. Now we get to the last 6 stitches. We go ahead and work front post double crochets over those first 2 stitches, 2 back post double crochets, and then 2 more front post double crochets, and then a half double in that turning chain space. Let's go ahead and turn and see what we have. Now you can kind of see the V a little bit better as we go along there. So we should have 3 of those honeycombs started. So now I'm going to show you row number 11. Chain 2, and with the front side facing, this again is the front side, this is the back side. The front side, you're going to do opposite what you see for these 6 stitches on each side. So I see back posts, so I'm going to do 2 front posts. We're going to reverse it. Do that every time you have the front side facing, and then 2 back posts double crochet, and then 2 front post double crochet. Now we're going to work the honeycomb portion, skip the next 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the next 2, working in front of these 2 stitches. We're going to work front post double crochet in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. It's kind of the opposite. What we did here, we're doing here, and what we did here on the 2 rows back, we're going to do over here. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working behind these last 2 stitches, we are going to front post double crochet in those 2 stitches that were skipped. Okay, let's pause, and you can see the way this is now enclosed, and that's what we're going to do across. I'll go ahead and do the next one. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches, front post double crochet in those 2 stitches that we skipped, skip the next 2, 1, 2, and front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working behind these last 2 stitches. We're going to front post double crochet in these 2 stitches that we skipped here and then here. And again, I'm using my thumb. Let's try that one again. I'm using my thumb to help me find that stitch. I know it's hard to see, but if you, again, use those tactile nerve endings there in your fingers, and there we go. And this will be more defined once we work the next row. Go ahead and work the whole row with you. Skip the next 2. Front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working in front of the last 2 stitches. Front post double crochet in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Skip the next 2. Front post double crochet in the next 2 stitches, working behind the last 2 stitches. We're going to front post double crochet in those 2 stitches that we skipped. And that brings us to the last 6 stitches, and remember we're doing the opposite with the front side facing. So we have front post, we're going to do back post double crochets. If you see back post, do front post. If you see front post, do back post. 2 back post double crochets. And then a half double in that turning chain. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now it does kind of look like honeycombs. Let's turn, and we're going to work through 9, 10, 11. Okay, this is row 12. Chain 2. With the back side facing, we go with what we see. Front post, we do front post. 2 front post double crochets. Then 2 back post double crochets, and then 2 front post double crochets, and then across the next 24 stitches we simply work back post double crochets. I say simply, or having a little bit of a struggle. There we go. Make sure you're careful to get all the stitches. There'll be 4, actually 8 stitches for every honeycomb. So go ahead and finish those 24 stitches. At the end of the row, we see 2 back posts. We go ahead and do 2 more back post double crochets. Two front post double crochets. And we follow that with 2 more back post double crochets, and then a half double crochet in that chain, and let's turn. And now we have completed our first pattern stitch. So for the remainder of this scarf, just shy of the ribbing that we will add later, go ahead and repeat rows 9, 10, 11, and 12 until you reach the length that you desire. Or you can look across the bottom. I'll tell you how many repeats I used for my scarf. So go ahead and complete that, and then I will show you how to work the ribbing at the other end. I have completed 35 repetitions of rows 9 through 12. And my scarf now is approximately 7.5 inches wide and 54.5 inches long. Now at this point, if you want to make your scarf longer, you can go ahead. You're going to need extra yarn to do that. And I should have mentioned earlier, if you wanted a shorter size, you can always just work fewer repetitions of rows 9 through 12. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to work the last 8 rows, which is going to be the same as the first 8 rows with the ribbing. Okay, so this is really going to be easy. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to start by maintaining the basket weave. We're going to do the opposite of what we see. We're going to do 2 back post double crochets, and then 2 front post double crochets, and we're basically going to repeat that all the way across, even through the cabling sections. Back post in the next 2 stitches, and now that brings us to the cabling part. Just work 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post double crochets, and just alternate that all the way across the row. After working this all the way across, we're going to end with a half double crochet in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and the next 7 rows will be exactly the same, starting off with a chain 2 and 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 front post double crochets, and we're going to alternate that all the way across the row until you have a total of 8 rows of the ribbing. So go ahead and finish those next 7 rows, and then I'll show you the end. This is what you should have after working those 8 rows of the ribbing. And go ahead and end here with a chain, give it a pull, and then I'm going to cut a nice long strand so that it will be easy to weave in. I'm going to go ahead and do a very quick tutorial on how to hide loose ends in case you are looking to learn this. I'm using my yarn needle. Simply thread this in, and I like to hide these with the back side facing, so this would be the back side, and we can go into these stitches along the edge right here and weave them in. I'm actually going to bring this down a bit further. I want to hide this well though, so I'm going to weave it in there. And then I'm actually going to come up into the back side of this stitch. There are many different ways you can do this. You just want to make sure that these strands are no longer showing, and you want to make sure that it's woven into the work enough so that they don't pop out. Okay, so that's pretty good. And I'm actually going to go down a little. I'm going to go down again. Okay, let's see. Pull that down like that, and I'm going to trim the yarn close, but make sure that you don't hurt your stitches there. Okay, so that strand is hidden. I have many more where the yarn connections were made to hide, so I'll go ahead and hide those loose ends, and then I'll show you what I have. Well, I hope you enjoyed making this scarf with me today. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. God bless. Bye-bye.